Hey everybody, Scott Morgan here from Morganics Family Farm. We're out here on a beautiful March afternoon getting some oat seed in the ground. Tom Zeng from Zeng Family Farm. It's a beautiful spring day, just a day or two after the equinox. Perfect time to plant oats. We've got real nice soil moisture. It's been dry enough to get the soil worked up. Get a real beautiful seed bed, and we've got rain coming in the next couple of days. So we'll see when Tom gets back closer to us. He's out pulling his seed drill. He's got it's a bit of a misnomer. It doesn't drill holes per se, but it drags lines in the soil, and it uses what's called a double disc opener. It cuts grooves to a depth that you've set on the adjustments of your machine. And into those grooves, it's actively dropping a nice calibrated dribble of seed to match your seed rate needs. I think he's probably putting in somewhere between 100 and 120 pounds to the acre right now. Let's see, if we come down here to the ground, you can kind of make out that about every 7 inches, there's a clear disturbance in the soil. In this line, you can see right here, there's a nice example of that seed that's just dribbled out, and that's what it's doing. It's a steadier stream of seed than you can see easily, just because every time I disturb the soil I'm burying more of the seed. But that machine's going to do a real nice job, create a real uniform stand, and oats are so vigorous that he probably won't even cultivate this field again. You can see there's really, he killed the weeds that were here with a little bit of light tillage that he's already done. And oats grow so vigorously that they'll outcompete everything else that might be in this field. So we might want to head over that way and catch Tom as he's on his way back in. The wind is bad. He's making his turn. He'll set those hydraulics in just a second, and you'll see those, they all set back down just then. Now it's digging the lines and planting the seed. He's running what is probably a 12-foot drill, so about 20 lines of seed going in it all at the same time. Behind us, I'm looking at his son Isaac planting a different variety of oats with a machine 3 times that size, probably running about 30 foot at a single pass. Springtime routine to get ready for oats.
Spring for oats is get the manures applied on the land as soon as you can. February was out because it was snowy. January wasn't too bad, but limited. So I think most of this ground we got done recently. So do that and then disc it down, and then go over with a field cultivator, and then plant. So
as few passes as possible to save your own time, diesel,
well,
all that
save
fun
time,
stuff,
diesel, but fewer passes has always, to me, meant better soil care.
Yeah. The
more we have to go over it, it looks nice, feels nice, but I'm not sure it's the right thing. Right, the winter weeds is the reason for, especially with organics, for tilling. I don't, even in my conventional ground, I don't no-till any small grain. But I take that back. Yes, I do. After soybeans, I'll no-till small grains in.
Okay.
Did not do that with any organic ground. No. No, it wouldn't make sense. I wouldn't. No.
Yeah, but those winter weeds that germinated last fall have got a pretty good foothold. If you
they did.
If you don't
you gotta till them.
hit them with tillage.
It's important. Yep.
Yeah.
So they came on.
Yeah, and I bet if we did a biological assay, even though you're doing some tillage, it's still some very healthy soil. It's still, I can see by looking at it that it's got really great aggregation. I mean, that's really nice soil holding together with old roots still in there, and yet it's been tilled.
Well, tillage is important. I don't know how you get away from tillage if you are organic for very long.
Yep. One of the key things with oats is timing, right? I mean, we're out here 3 days after the equinox.
It's not early.
It's not early. You want to get oats in as early as possible. I always like to try and get them in by the 21st. But
I like to try to be ready. My goal is to be ready by the 1st of March.
Yeah.
Because when it changes, you got to hurry up and get it in because it'll change back again.
Yeah, if that window opens, you only need a couple of days.
Yep.
And get out and get that seed in the ground. Because if you get out, honestly, much past now, you get out into early April, and the likelihood anymore of it getting too hot.
It sometimes, yeah, that's right, sometimes. And yet I have planted oats actually into very beginning of May, first couple days, and they turned out all right. But then I have, like you said, planted oats at the beginning of April, and they were junk. But every year's different.
Right.
You never know. You just don't know.
But your average is to get in nice and early, and the oats like to grow in the cooler season of spring. Right. Get that flowering period.
That's right.
Before it gets too hot outside.
That's the hope.
And generally, that's going to afford you a good strong crop.
Yeah, that's right. That's what you shoot for. That's good practice. And you just hope the weather cooperates so you can plant. And many times it doesn't, but many times it does. So you got to be ready.
A lot of times I'm growing seeds that are either recommended by the person that I'm going to sell them to, or somebody else that I know that grows it. Yeah. In the case of these, right now Tom's planting hulless oat variety called Gale. So the hulless oats are a great bit of plant breeding that allows us to go straight from harvest to, or straighter from harvest to saleable product.
And the smaller equipment on a little smaller acreage and hit the local market for fertilizer now.
You got that manure in the ground, and oats
they're
not the heaviest feeder anyway, so
no.
They often do a pretty good job of scavenging what they need to produce a decent yield.
And I like to put the oats in, it just works out well in my rotation. That's pretty much it. This was corn last year, and I don't remember what it was the year before. I'm not sure. Might have been rye.
It was definitely corn last year.
I think it was rye. Oh yeah, it was definitely corn last year. Yeah, I think it was rye the year before. After the oats, well, it depends. You can put anything in you want. We could put a small grain in again for winter, or I could put a hay crop in.
Now I've already got the settings on this the same from the last time I ran it, so you can see right down in here, this shaft has these flutes on it, and when I change the calibration you either get more or less of that, and that's how much agitation the seed gets to be kicked out into the coulter. So that's already set right for the oats the way we want to plant them. So I'm just going to even out the seed a little bit so it's uniform across the box, because it only falls through by gravity at this point. So if one side of the box has less seed than the rest, you'll actually run out and miss some lines in the field. So you want to make sure that it's relatively even. And in this 1 acre field, I probably only check once or twice. In a bigger field, especially as you get near the end, you definitely want to come back here and be checking, because you only get one shot. Got to make sure it's done right the first time. Now we are looking at last fall. So right now we're looking at einkorn wheat. This was planted end of last October. It wants to cycle a whole winter and then comes up real strong, like you can see now, real vibrant in the spring. This year's snow cover that lasted for so long was a real benefit to this crop. It helped to protect it from the worst of the winter wind, and all that snow brings a little bit of free nitrogen as well. So as that melts, it's right there in the soil when the sun shines in the spring, and this is, as you can see, has greened up real nice. This field was planted about a week ago. It got 2 passes with the Perfecta, which is a relatively light field cultivator, just the sweeps and a crumbling basket to give it this fine texture. There's a lot of residue on the surface from last year's wheat and einkorn crop that was in this block. It was chopped up fine enough by the flail mower that it wasn't at all a problem for the seed drill. And it's also left me with a lot of good moisture controlling mulch on the surface and good organic matter for the biology in the soil to keep working on. I don't know if we'll be able to see it, but we might be able to pull up a seed and see if after 7 days in cool early March if we've got anything germinated yet. We did get a rain after the planting. There's a seed. It's starting to plump, but no germination yet. So there's the seed that's been in the ground for a week. It's plumped up real nice, and right there, that little white tip at the bottom of it, you can see it's starting to form its first little rootlet. We'll have green shoots coming out of the ground, I would bet, in another week now that we're up in the 60s every day.
So we are at NorthSlope Farm in South Hunterdon County, and we're looking at our trial greens for NOFA, New Jersey. We've got 4 half-acre trial plots planted. So just thinking about how we got the fields ready for planting. We started, in this case, we started with tillage because I was going into a new field that I hadn't worked in like over a decade, really. It's just been a hay field. So I didn't really, a lot of grass or something. It was thick sod and some bramble roots and stuff like that. So I really didn't know how well it was going to work up. So I chisel plowed it and then rototilled the big clumps so I had fairly level ground. And I want to say that maybe I tilled it surface tilled it one more time before seeding. So after doing the primary tillage and I had a pretty level field and felt comfortable that it was going to work, that's when I went over it with some fertilizer, some certified organic fertilizer. And the pH was pretty good. Otherwise that would be this, we could have added the lime before tillage or after tillage, either way. And let's see, because the field had been in sod for so long and hadn't been tilled for so long, I wasn't so worried about putting the compost down because typically the compost is helpful when you're doing a lot of tillage year after year. The compost can really add organic matter and build up biological life, but in this case, it's probably pretty solid since this is the first tillage in a while. Really, it's just a matter of, for us at NorthSlope Farm to plant these grains, it's really just to keep the process going where we want organic growers to plant small grains. There's definitely a market for it. There's definitely people in the state of New Jersey that want to be able to buy organic grain and use it to make products. It's just something that's not that readily available right now. Mm-hmm. So NOFA New Jersey just wants to have people be able to see it, maybe get inspired, maybe trigger the next questions.
Great. And I don't see much else growing in here besides what you planted.
Right, so this is one of the advantages of the small grain, is that you can plant it when a lot of the biology is sort of slowing down and going to sleep, so there's less competition for the weeds when you plant it. And then it holds the space through the winter, and then now it's just really starting to wake up and start to grow, but it's already going to be growing before any of the little summer weeds even germinate. So that's really the beauty of it, is it doesn't really strictly even need to be cultivated, which is, controlling weeds for an organic farmer can be difficult. And the small grains definitely do seem to be well suited with careful management to fairly good weed competition.